Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling like you lost a part of yourself? Not just tired, but drained, your clarity clouded, your peace disturbed. Some people don't just take your time, they rob you of your energy, your focus, even your sense of purpose. And the worst part, you might not even realize it's happening. The Stoics understood this well. Marcus Aurelius warned, "Your mind will take the shape of what you frequently hold in thought. If you surround yourself with the wrong people, your thoughts, actions, and even your character will start to reflect them." That's why it's not just important, but essential to recognize who you should never tolerate in your life. Today, we'll explore 5 types of people who erode your well-being and what Stoicism teaches us about setting firm boundaries. This isn't about anger or resentment, it's about wisdom. It's about guarding your inner fortress, just as a Stoic would, so you can stay focused on what truly matters. So, who are these people, and how can you free yourself from their influence? Let's dive in. 1. Guard your energy like a sacred fire. Have you ever left a conversation feeling inexplicably drained, as if something vital was taken from you? Not just tired, but hollow. Your thoughts scattered, your emotions unsettled. This isn't coincidence. Some people don't just take your time, they consume your energy, your clarity, even your sense of direction. And if you don't guard it, they will keep taking until there's nothing left. The Stoics understood this deeply. Seneca once said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality, and much of that suffering comes from allowing others to dictate where our time, focus, and energy go." When we fail to set boundaries, we risk living according to other people's demands rather than our own purpose. Have you ever stopped to ask yourself, am I giving too much to this relationship? And what am I getting in return? Protecting your energy isn't selfish, it's necessary. Just as a fire needs careful tending to burn bright, your mental and emotional resources must be safeguarded. If you allow others to constantly drain you, you won't have the strength to pursue your own goals, to show up for the people who truly matter, or to build the life you envision. Think of your energy as a sacred fire, one that fuels your ambitions, your clarity, and your inner peace. But too often, we allow others to smother that fire with their negativity, their demands, and their lack of reciprocity. The truth is, people will always seek your attention. Some will appreciate it, while others will take it for granted. Not everyone deserves access to your energy, and it's your responsibility to decide who is worthy of it. Ask yourself, does this relationship bring balance, or does it leave me feeling depleted and burnt out? When you continuously give without receiving, you're left empty without the strength to chase your dreams, to cultivate your passions, or to focus on what truly matters. Seneca also said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." To guard your energy is not to be distant or unkind. It is to take ownership of your life. It means recognizing that every interaction shapes your state of mind, and that every relationship either fuels or drains you. If you want to live with purpose, you must be selective about where your energy flows. When you allow people to take more than they give, you weaken your foundation and lose sight of what truly matters, your growth, your ambitions, and the people who uplift you. The lesson is simple, but difficult to practice. Not everyone deserves a place in your life, especially those who take without giving, who demand without appreciating, and who leave you feeling exhausted instead of empowered. Do you have the courage to say no when someone asks for your time and attention, especially when you know it will pull you away from what truly fuels your soul? This isn't an act of selfishness or cruelty. It's a conscious decision to protect your energy so you can live with clarity and intention. In a world filled with distractions and endless demands, it's easy to forget that your energy is finite. The more you give to those who don't respect your boundaries, the less you have to give to the things that truly matter. So ask yourself, does this relationship bring me closer to my purpose, or is it pulling me away from it? The people who truly value you will respect your time. They won't demand it endlessly without regard for your well-being. Instead, they will recognize that real connection is built on balance, where both sides give and receive in equal measure. This balance is what creates relationships that nourish your spirit rather than deplete it. When you surround yourself with people who uplift you, you grow stronger, clearer, and more focused on what truly matters. Guarding your energy isn't just about avoiding exhaustion. It's about making an investment in the life you want to create. Do you want a life filled with purpose, clarity, and meaningful relationships? Then start by being intentional about where you direct your energy and with whom you choose to share it. 2. Do not compromise your principles. Integrity is not lost in a single moment. It erodes little by little, one small compromise at a time. It begins with something seemingly insignificant, an exception made for convenience, a bending of values to avoid conflict. But much like a tiny crack in a dam, that small fracture grows. Before long, the entire structure weakens, and what once stood strong begins to crumble. Have you ever looked back and realized you've strayed far from what you once stood for? That somewhere along the way you stopped living by your own truth and started conforming to someone else's expectations? The danger of compromising your principles is not just in the act itself. It's in the slow and silent erosion of your sense of self. Marcus Aurelius warned us clearly, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Simple, yet profound. Your principles are not just abstract ideals. They are the foundation upon which your character is built. Each time you betray them, even slightly, you weaken that foundation. And when you let others pressure you into abandoning your values, you are not just surrendering to them, you are betraying yourself. It's easy to justify small compromises. Maybe it keeps the peace. Maybe it avoids discomfort. Maybe it feels necessary in the moment. But over time, these small sacrifices accumulate. One day you may wake up and no longer recognize the person staring back at you. The strength you once had, the unwavering clarity of knowing what you stand for, will have been chipped away, piece by piece. Imagine trying to fill a cracked vessel. No matter how much you pour into it, the water will always find a way to escape. That is what happens when you sacrifice your integrity. Once fractured, it is difficult to restore. This is why the Stoics emphasized an iron mind, one that cannot be bent by fleeting temptations or external pressures. A mind that remains steady in the face of persuasion, manipulation, or momentary ease. True strength lies in standing firm, even when the world urges you to bend. The people who genuinely respect you will never ask you to abandon your principles for their convenience. They will not demand that you compromise what you believe in just to make them comfortable. In fact, those who truly value you will admire your unwavering commitment to what is right. But beware of those who encourage you to bend, who push you to set aside your values when it benefits them. These are not the people you want in your life. The Stoics teach us that a life of integrity attracts the right kind of people, those who respect, support, and share in your pursuit of virtue. Those who try to pull you away from your principles, on the other hand, reveal exactly why they do not deserve a place in your world. It won't always be easy to stand firm. You may face pressure, criticism, or even isolation. But the price of integrity is far less than the cost of regret. If you wish to live a life of meaning, respect, and personal growth, you must refuse to bargain with your values. Every time you choose integrity over compromise, you strengthen the foundation upon which your future is built. So keep your mind focused on what truly matters, your truth, your values, and the path that aligns with them. Never let anyone convince you that sacrificing your principles is the price of acceptance or success, because in the end, a life lived in alignment with one's principles is the only life worth living. 3. Beware of those who manipulate. Have you ever found yourself in a relationship where you kept giving your time, your energy, your kindness, yet received nothing in return? Maybe you felt drained, unappreciated, or even questioned your own worth. This is the work of a manipulator, someone who takes advantage of your good nature, not with obvious demands, but through quiet, insidious control. Manipulation rarely announces itself. It often disguises itself as love, friendship, or concern. At first it feels harmless, maybe even flattering, but over time, the manipulator tightens their grip. They make you feel like you are their only hope, twisting your empathy into guilt. They convince you that if you stop helping, they will suffer, and you begin to wonder, would saying no make me a bad person? But here's the truth. You are not responsible for carrying someone else's burdens, especially when they refuse to carry their own. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus reminds us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Manipulation thrives in the shadows, in the space where doubt and guilt take hold. But the moment you recognize it for what it is, you take back your power. You stop reacting on their terms and start responding on your own. Ask yourself, am I always the one giving? Do I feel exhausted after every interaction? If the answer is yes, it's time to set boundaries. The Stoics teach us that protecting our emotional well-being is not selfish, it's necessary. Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts, and your thoughts, your peace of mind, are deeply influenced by the people you allow into your life." Manipulators prey on kindness, but that doesn't mean you have to surrender to them. True kindness should be honored, not exploited. There's a difference between being compassionate and being a doormat. Strength is knowing when to give and when to protect yourself. Think back to a time when someone's constant demands left you feeling depleted. How did that affect your spirit, your focus, your sense of self? When you constantly pour into others without being refilled, you are left empty. That is not generosity, it is self-neglect. I know it's not always easy to say no, especially when you care about someone, but the Stoics teach us that we are only responsible for what is within our control. You cannot control how others react, but you can control your own decisions. You are not responsible for another person's happiness, no matter how much they try to convince you otherwise. And in today's world, manipulation takes many forms. It's the friend who always expects your help but never reciprocates, the colleague who relies on your goodwill while taking credit for your work, the family member who constantly leans on you emotionally but never considers your needs. In all these cases, it's easy to feel obligated to give, to be there, to sacrifice. But Stoicism reminds us that our time, our energy, and our peace of mind are sacred. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." That strength lies in setting firm boundaries, in refusing to be manipulated by guilt or obligation. When someone tries to exploit your kindness, remember that you have the power to choose your response. Saying no doesn't make you selfish, it makes you strong. It means you recognize your worth and refuse to let it be diminished. By honoring your own needs, you create space for healthier, more fulfilling relationships, ones built on mutual respect, not control. So trust yourself, recognize manipulation for what it is, and most importantly, never let anyone make you feel guilty for protecting your peace. Your kindness is a strength. Guard it, protect it, and give it only to those who truly deserve it. 4. Do not let others diminish your dreams. Have you ever shared a dream, a vision, or a goal, only to have someone dismiss it? Maybe they laughed, questioned your abilities, or made you feel foolish for believing in yourself. It may have seemed like just a passing remark, but deep down, it planted a seed of doubt. Slowly, you started second-guessing yourself, wondering if they were right. The mind is shaped by the thoughts we allow to take root, and yet too often we let the doubts of others pollute our vision. The harsh truth is this: not everyone will support your dreams. Some will try to bring you down, not because your dreams are impossible, but because they are too afraid to chase their own. It's easy to think that one negative comment won't matter, that a little doubt won't shake you. But dreams are like delicate flames. They need oxygen, encouragement, and belief to grow. If you surround yourself with people who constantly throw water on that fire, eventually it will go out. And the worst part, you might not even realize it's happening until it's too late. As Epictetus said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. You cannot control what others say or think, but you can control how you respond. The question is, will you allow their words to hold you back, or will you stand firm, knowing that their doubts are a reflection of their limitations, not yours? The truth is, no one else can see the vision you have for your life as clearly as you do. It was given to you, not to them. So why let their fears dictate your path? If you allow others to diminish your dreams, you are handing them power over your future. You are letting their voices become louder than your own, and that is a dangerous place to be. As Marcus Aurelius said, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Stay focused on what you can control, your mindset, your actions, your persistence. If someone belittles your aspirations, let it serve as fuel, not as a reason to shrink back. Use it as a test of your resolve. Do you believe in your dreams enough to defend them, to keep going even when no one else understands? Every great thinker, creator, and innovator faces doubt. If they had listened to those who dismissed them, their ideas would have never shaped the world. The same applies to you. Your dreams matter, not because others approve of them, but because they are yours. So protect them, surround yourself with those who uplift you. Seek the company of people who challenge you to grow, not those who try to keep you small. When someone tries to belittle your ambitions, remind yourself, Their opinion is not my reality, as Seneca said. A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a person perfected without trials, obstacles. Criticism and doubt are all part of the journey, but they do not define the outcome. You do. Now take a moment and reflect. Have you ever allowed someone's words to make you doubt yourself? If you're ready to reclaim your power, leave a comment below saying, "I stand by my dreams." Let's build a community where belief in oneself is stronger than the doubts of others. 5. Do not surrender your identity for others. There will be moments in life when others try to shape you, mold you into their vision of who you should be. It could be a family member, a friend, or even a colleague who subtly pressures you to adjust your beliefs, your goals, or even your personality to fit their expectations. At first, it may seem harmless. You might tell yourself that compromise is necessary, that it's easier to blend in and avoid conflict. But every time you alter your identity to gain approval, you lose a part of your true self. These small compromises add up, and one day you may wake up feeling like a stranger to yourself, no longer the person you were meant to be. As Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." When you surrender your identity to the expectations of others, you hand over control of the one thing that is truly yours, yourself. Stoicism teaches that the opinions of others are beyond your control, and to chase their approval is to chase a moving target, one that will always keep you running, but never lead to fulfillment. Your individuality is not something to be bartered for acceptance. It is your greatest strength, the essence of what makes you irreplaceable. If you allow the weight of others' opinions to shape you, you will find yourself suffocating under the pressure of being someone you are not. You may think it will bring you peace, but in reality, it only leads to inner conflict, a slow erosion of your own spirit. Life is too short to live by someone else's script. True fulfillment comes not from pleasing others, but from honoring who you truly are, your strengths, your flaws, your passions, your unique way of seeing the world. By living authentically, you not only free yourself from the burden of external expectations, but also inspire others to do the same. Standing firm in your identity is not always easy. There will be resistance, judgment, and even rejection. But, as Marcus Aurelius said, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. If you let others define you, your thoughts will always be shaped by fear and self-doubt. If you stand true to yourself, your mind becomes an unshakable fortress, one built on clarity, purpose, and self-respect. Developing this resilience is at the heart of Stoicism. It is the practice of remaining grounded in your values. No matter how much the world tries to push you off course, your authenticity is not just a gift to yourself, it is a beacon for others, showing them that they too can stand firm in their truth. So, do not bend to the expectations of others. Do not trade your identity for acceptance. The path of authenticity may not always be easy, but every step you take in honoring your true self strengthens your character and brings you closer to the life you were meant to live. As we've explored today, protecting your peace is not just a choice. It's a necessity. Not everyone deserves access to your energy, and not every relationship is worth maintaining. By applying Stoic principles, you set firm boundaries, stay true to your values, and surround yourself with those who uplift rather than drain you. Life is too short to tolerate what weakens your spirit. Strength lies in the ability to walk away from what no longer serves you and to stand firm in what truly matters. If today's insights resonated with you, take a moment to share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever had to distance yourself from someone who was holding you back? Let's continue the conversation and support one another in building a life of strength and clarity. If you found value in this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Your support helps bring more content that empowers and inspires. Turn on notifications so you never miss the next video, where we'll uncover even more Stoic wisdom to help you navigate life with resilience and purpose. Stay strong, stay wise, and most importantly, stay true to yourself. The best is yet to come. What makes a person truly powerful? Is it their words, their threats, their ability to command a room, or is it something deeper, something unseen yet undeniable? Imagine standing before a predator in the wild. It doesn't snarl, it doesn't lunge. It simply watches, still, silent, calculating, and somehow that silence is more terrifying than any roar. Or picture a chess grandmaster sitting motionless as his opponent sweats, mind racing, desperate to predict his next move. But he gives away nothing. That is power. Real power isn't loud. It doesn't seek validation. It exists in the quiet confidence of those who don't need to prove themselves. The Stoics understood this well. They knew that true strength comes not from aggression but from control of oneself, one's emotions, the energy one projects into the world. In this video, we'll explore 7 silent strategies from Stoic philosophy that will make your enemies think twice before crossing you. Master these, and you won't need to speak to command respect. Your presence alone will be enough. The greatest power you can wield is not over others, it is over yourself. When your enemies try to provoke you, when they mock, insult, or attempt to rattle your composure, the instinctive response is to react, to defend yourself, to retaliate, to prove that you are not weak. But here's the truth. The moment you react emotionally, you hand them control. Nothing unsettles an enemy more than someone they cannot provoke. When they try to push your buttons and are met with calm indifference, it forces them to question themselves. They don't know how to handle someone who refuses to be manipulated. Your emotional control becomes your weapon, and your composure becomes their greatest frustration. The Stoics understood this well. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength. Strength does not come from shouting, from aggression, or from seeking revenge. It comes from the ability to remain still in the face of chaos, to rise above provocation, to refuse to let others dictate your emotions." Let me share a story. A man I once knew, let's call him Victor, worked with someone who constantly tried to undermine him. This person would throw sarcastic remarks, challenge him in front of others, and try to get a reaction. At first, Victor played into it, arguing, defending himself, letting his frustration show. But then he realized something. Every time he reacted, his enemy gained the upper hand. So he made a change. The next time an insult came his way, he remained silent. He didn't flinch, didn't argue, didn't acknowledge the attempt to provoke him. And suddenly, the dynamic shifted. His enemy grew frustrated. They lost their power because Victor refused to give it to them. Over time, the provocations stopped entirely. So how do you master your emotions? First, recognize your triggers. Know what unsettles you so you can prepare for it. Second, practice self-discipline. Pause before you react. Take a breath, control your response, and finally, understand that emotional control is strength, not weakness. At the end of the day, true power lies in mastering yourself. When you stay calm, you remain untouchable. And in a world full of chaos, your composure will be the thing that makes you unstoppable. True confidence doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't beg for attention, nor does it seek approval. Instead, it exists as a quiet force, one that commands respect the moment. It enters a room. An unshakable presence is built on self-assurance, not arrogance. When you know who you are and what you stand for, you no longer feel the need to prove anything. Your posture, your movements, your energy, they all radiate strength and control. And here's the truth. Confidence without arrogance is intimidating. When you move with certainty, when you take up space unapologetically, people take notice, not because you demand respect, but because you don't need to ask for it. The Stoics understood this well. Lao once said, "Silence is a source of great strength. It's not always what you say or do that holds power, but rather the quiet certainty you project." Silence isn't weakness, it's control. The one who can walk into a room and own their space without saying a word is the one others instinctively respect. Let me share a story. A man I knew, let's call him Marcus, was never the loudest in the room. He didn't seek attention, nor did he try to impress others. Yet somehow, people respected him instantly. His posture was strong, his movements deliberate, his energy unwavering. When Marcus entered a conversation, people naturally quieted, not because he demanded it, but because his presence commanded it. He didn't need to raise his voice. His presence alone spoke louder than words ever could. So, how do you cultivate this presence? First, stand tall. Your posture influences how others perceive you. Shoulders back, head high, never shrinking. Second, move with intention. Every action should have purpose. And finally, embrace silence. Those who are truly powerful don't need to announce themselves. They simply exist in their strength. At the end of the day, true power is felt, not spoken. Walk into a room with quiet confidence. Own your space and watch how the world begins to respect you without you ever needing to say a word. Let your actions speak. Powerful men do not waste time announcing their greatness. They do not explain, they do not boast. They simply act in a world drowning in empty words and hollow promises. Those who move in silence command the most respect. Everyone talks. They talk about their ambitions, their future successes, their grand visions, but words are cheap. True strength is not in what you say, but in what you do. Your discipline, your resilience, your ability to follow through, these are what define you. A person who consistently delivers results does not need to seek validation. Their actions alone speak for them. When you focus on action, you eliminate the need for explanation. You no longer have to convince others of your worth because they see it in how you carry yourself. They see the results of your effort, the consistency of your discipline, and the quiet determination in your presence. And the best part, your enemies will have nothing to argue against. Words can be twisted, but actions are undeniable. The Stoics understood this well. They believed that virtue, discipline, and resilience were not things to be discussed, but things to be lived. Epictetus once said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." The moment you stop talking about your strength and start demonstrating it, you become someone that others cannot ignore, and someone that your enemies cannot undermine. Let me share a story. A man I once knew, let's call him Adrian, was always talking about his ambitions. He would tell everyone about his big plans, about how successful he was going to be. At first people listened, but after months of inaction, something changed. People stopped taking him seriously. They smiled, nodded, and dismissed his words as just that. Words. Then Adrian made a decision. He stopped talking and started doing. Instead of announcing his goals, he worked in silence every day. He put in the effort, ignored the doubts, and focused on results. Slowly but surely people started to notice, not because he told them, but because they saw the transformation. His success was no longer a theory, it was real, and suddenly, the same people who once ignored him now respected him. So, how do you let your actions speak? First, be consistent. Effort, no matter how small, compounds over time. Show up. Do the work. Let persistence separate you from those who only talk. Second, pursue excellence. Do not settle for mediocrity. Master your craft, sharpen your skills, and strive to be the best at whatever you do. And third, build resilience. Challenges will come. People will doubt you. But if you keep moving forward, your perseverance will be the proof of your strength. At the end of the day, what you do matters far more than what you say. Your enemies may argue with your words, but they cannot deny your results. So stop talking, act. Let your actions speak so loudly that no words are needed. If you found this valuable, hit like and subscribe for more powerful insights. 4. Never overreact to insults. Nothing exposes weakness more than an emotional reaction to an insult. When someone attacks you with words, the natural instinct is to defend yourself, to argue, to retaliate, to prove them wrong. But here is the truth. The moment you react, you hand them power. When you get angry or flustered, you reveal exactly where your vulnerabilities lie. Your enemies now know which buttons to press, what words can shake you, and what insults can throw you off balance. They don't control you, you give them control. But there is a way to break free from this trap. Indifference. Indifference is the ultimate power move. When you refuse to react to an insult, when you remain completely unshaken, you take back control. Your lack of response forces the other person to question themselves. Why aren't you reacting? Why aren't you offended? Why aren't you playing their game? And in that moment of uncertainty, you've already won. This is what the Stoics mastered. Epictetus taught that our emotions should never be dictated by the actions of others. He believed that insults only have power if we give them meaning. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. If someone throws an insult at you and you remain unmoved, the insult dies the moment it is spoken. But if you react, you breathe life into it. You make it real. Let me share a story. A woman I once knew, let's call her Celeste, had a colleague who constantly tried to undermine her. This person would throw sarcastic remarks in meetings, gossip behind her back, and find subtle ways to belittle her. At first, Celeste responded like most people would, defending herself, arguing, trying to prove her worth. But she quickly realized something. Every time she reacted, the insults got worse. Then she made a change. The next time her colleague tried to provoke her, Celeste did nothing. She remained calm, unaffected, indifferent. She didn't defend herself. She didn't acknowledge the insult. She simply continued on as if nothing had happened, and that was when everything shifted. The insults lost their power. Her colleague became frustrated, confused, because they weren't getting the reaction they wanted. Over time, the insults stopped altogether. Celeste had changed the power dynamic by refusing to give away control of her emotions. So, how do you master this skill? First, develop self-awareness. When an insult comes your way, pause, breathe, and recognize that you have the power to decide how you respond. Second, stay emotionally controlled. The moment you allow someone to trigger you, you've lost and finally embraced indifference. Not every insult deserves a response. In fact, silence is often more powerful than words. At the end of the day, the strongest person is the one who cannot be provoked. When you refuse to react, you strip your enemies of their power. Let them insult, let them mock. It doesn't matter, because their words only have meaning if you allow them to. Stay calm, stay unmoved, and watch how quickly they lose their power over you. Control what they know about you. Power is not just about what you do, it's also about what you allow others to know. In a world where people are constantly watching, analyzing, and trying to figure you out, the more predictable you are, the easier it is for others to manipulate you. Your weaknesses, your ambitions, your insecurities, if you make them obvious. You give people the tools to control you. They know what triggers you. They know what you want. And with that knowledge, they can influence your decisions, push you off balance, or use your own desires against you. The key to staying untouchable is controlling what others know about you. This doesn't mean deception. It doesn't mean lying. It means choosing carefully what you reveal and to whom. When you keep certain things to yourself, your struggles, your next moves, even your emotions, you become unpredictable, and the unpredictable cannot be controlled. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Seneca said, "Appear weak when you are strong, and strong when you are weak." The true strategist understands that power lies in controlling perception. If you are too open, too transparent, people will know exactly how to counter you. But if you hold back, if you reveal only what is necessary, you remain an enigma, impossible to predict, impossible to manipulate. Let me share a story. A man I once knew, let's call him Damon, was always open about his life. He shared his struggles, his frustrations, and even his long-term ambitions with his co-workers. He believed that transparency would earn him trust. But over time, he realized that this openness had made him vulnerable. People began using what he shared against him. If he mentioned feeling overwhelmed, he'd suddenly find himself under even more pressure. If he confided in someone about a challenge, it wasn't long before others were questioning his abilities. His own words were being weaponized against him. So, Damon made a change. He stopped revealing everything. He spoke less about his struggles, shared his ambitions only when necessary, and became more selective about who he trusted. And something remarkable happened. The people started respecting him more because they couldn't predict his every move. They couldn't use his words against him anymore. He regained control, not by fighting, but by becoming unreadable. So, how do you maintain this control? First, be mindful of what you share. Not everyone needs to know your deepest thoughts, your fears, or your plans. Second, embrace mystery. The less predictable you are, the harder it is for others to influence you. And finally, use your strength strategically. Reveal power when necessary. Appear vulnerable when it serves you. Control perception, and you control the game. At the end of the day, the less others know about you, the more power you hold. Protect your inner world. Keep your plans, your struggles, and your emotions guarded. Make it difficult for others to define you, and you become impossible to manipulate. If you've made it this far, drop a comment with "Stay Unpredictable" and give the video a like. Your support means the world and keeps this channel growing. Let's continue learning together. Thank you for watching. Make power moves in silence. The loudest people are rarely the most powerful. Those who constantly announce their plans, their ambitions, and their next big move give away their greatest advantage, the element of surprise. There is something undeniably powerful about moving in silence, about working in the shadows while the world remains unaware of your progress. In a world where everyone is eager to share their dreams, their strategies, and their next steps, restraint is a rare strength. The more you reveal, the more you expose yourself to interference, doubt, and even sabotage. Some will try to discourage you. Others will give unsolicited advice, and a few may even work against you. But when you keep your ambitions private, you eliminate these obstacles before they ever arise. No one can stop what they don't see coming. Here is the truth. Announcing your next step invites unnecessary resistance. When people don't know what your plan is, they can't predict your moves, they can't block your progress, and they can't manipulate your vision. You become a force that is impossible to control. Your silence is your shield, and your results become the only statement that matters. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Epictetus said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." The wise do not waste time justifying their path to others. They act, they build, they execute, and when success comes, they do not need to explain anything because their results say it all. Let me share a story. A woman I once knew, let's call her Naomi, had a habit of sharing her every goal with friends and colleagues. She would talk about her upcoming projects, her dreams, and the big things she was working on. At first it felt empowering, but over time she noticed something. The more she talked, the harder things became. People started questioning her choices, offering opinions she never asked for, and even doubting her ability to succeed. And the worst part, she started doubting herself too. The voices of others became distractions, and the more she listened, the more uncertain she felt. Then Naomi decided to make a change. She stopped announcing her plans. Instead of talking about what she was going to do, she just did it. She focused on her work, ignored the noise, and moved in silence. And when she finally succeeded, there was nothing anyone could say because the results were undeniable. Her work spoke louder than any words ever could. So, how do you make power moves in silence? First, keep your plans to yourself. Not everyone needs to know what you're working on. Let your success be a surprise. Second, stay focused. Talking about your goals does nothing. Execution is what matters. And finally, let your results be your proof. People will see your dedication, your discipline, and your accomplishments without you ever needing to explain a thing. At the end of the day, true power is not in what you say, it's in what you do. Keep your ambitions private, work relentlessly, and let your success speak for itself. Move in silence, and let your results make the loudest statement of all. Be unapologetically yourself. There is nothing more powerful than a person who refuses to apologize for who they are. In a world where most people seek approval, adjust their personalities to fit in, and constantly worry about how they are perceived, standing firm in your true identity is an act of defiance. And defiance, when rooted in authenticity, commands both fear and respect. Most people are desperate to be liked. They suppress their opinions, hide their strengths, and dilute their uniqueness just to avoid standing out. But here's the truth. When you stop trying to fit in, you become untouchable. The moment you let go of the need for external validation, you shift the power dynamic. You no longer need to impress anyone, which makes you immune to their judgment. And nothing unsettles people more than someone who doesn't seek their approval. This is why the Stoics emphasized living in accordance with one's true nature. They believed that seeking the approval of others is a trap that leads to misery. Epictetus taught that freedom comes not from being accepted, but from being independent of the opinions of others. When you stop chasing approval, you gain something far more valuable, self-respect, and when you respect yourself, the world follows. Let me share a story. A man I once knew, let's call him Aurelius, spent years holding himself to fit into different social circles. He laughed at jokes he didn't find funny, downplayed his accomplishments to avoid making others uncomfortable, and constantly adjusted his personality to match those around him. But over time, he began to feel drained, disconnected, and lost. He had spent so long trying to fit in that he no longer knew who he really was. Then, Aurelius made a decision. He stopped pretending. He spoke his mind without hesitation, stood firm in his beliefs, and no longer cared if others agreed with him. And something remarkable happened. People started respecting him more. They admired his confidence, his authenticity, and his unwillingness to conform. And the best part, Aurelius no longer had to wear a mask to feel accepted. The people who truly valued him stayed, and those who couldn't handle his authenticity faded away. Either way, he won. So, how do you become unapologetically yourself? First, stop seeking validation. You don't need anyone's approval to be who you are. The moment you stop chasing acceptance, you gain true power. Second, embrace your uniqueness. The things that make you different are your greatest strengths. Don't hide them, let them shine. And finally, live by your own standards. Stop following rules designed to keep you small. Set your own path and let your life reflect your true self. At the end of the day, those who live authentically are the ones who cannot be controlled. The world fears what it cannot manipulate. So be unapologetically yourself. Stand firm in your identity and watch as people either respect you or disappear. Either way, you win. At the end of the day, true power comes from within. When you stop seeking approval, when you refuse to shrink yourself to fit into others' expectations, you become untouchable, not because you are trying to impress, but because you have learned to stand fully in your own strength. Own who you are, and the world will have no choice but to respect you. If this resonated with you, drop a comment with power in silence, and let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more insights on mastering yourself and commanding respect effortlessly. Remember, the strongest person is the one who needs no validation. Stay disciplined, stay unshaken, and I'll see you in the next video. Have you ever felt the sting of silence? One day, someone is laughing with you, making plans, acting as if you matter. The next, nothing, no messages, no explanations, just distance. It feels personal, like a silent rejection. But what if I told you that being ignored is not a reflection of your worth, but a revelation of theirs? Some people disappear because they no longer need anything from you. Others pull away because your growth makes them uncomfortable. And some, they were never truly invested to begin with. But here's where Stoic wisdom comes in. You don't need to chase, beg, or demand answers. The real power lies in understanding why it happens and refusing to take it personally. Let me tell you a story. Daniel was the kind of person everyone relied on, loyal, giving, always available. But one day, things changed. Messages went unanswered. Conversations grew distant. At first, he thought maybe they're busy, but as days turned into weeks, a question haunted him. Why am I being ignored? Frustrated, he visited an old mentor, Mr. Reeves, a man known for his wisdom. "Light this candle," the mentor said, handing him a match. Daniel obeyed, watching the small flame flicker. "Now bring it to the open window." The moment Daniel did, a gust of wind blew the flame out. His mentor smiled. People don't always ignore you because they dislike you. Sometimes they ignore you because your light burns too bright. That night, Daniel made a choice not to dim his light to keep others comfortable. If you've ever been ignored, this video will change the way you see it. And by the end, you'll understand why it's not a loss. It's clarity. Stay with me. And if this resonates with you, consider subscribing for more Stoic insights. Let's begin. 1. They're testing your reaction. Sometimes silence is not indifference. It's a game. One day, they're engaged, responsive, making you feel like you matter. The next, they vanish. No calls, no messages. Just a cold absence. You wonder if something went wrong, if you should reach out, if you should prove you care. But here's the truth. This isn't always about losing interest. Sometimes it's a test. People ignore you to see how you'll react. Will you chase? Will you double text? Over-explain? Ask what's wrong? They want to know how much control they have over you. The moment you start scrambling for their attention, they win because now they have proof their absence affects you. And once they know that, they hold the power. Think of it like a game of tug-of-war. When they drop the rope, when they ignore you, they're waiting to see if you'll pull harder, if you'll fight to keep them engaged. But what happens if you don't? The game ends. That's the power of restraint. That's the power of Stoicism. He who needs least from others is the most powerful. The strongest person is not the one who chases, but the one who remains steady, unfazed by the whims of others. True confidence isn't found in proving your worth. It's in knowing you never had to. I once knew someone like this. Let's call him Adam. Whenever I got busy, focused on my goals, my life, he would suddenly withdraw. Messages left unanswered, invitations ignored. At first I thought maybe he's just occupied, but then I noticed a pattern. Whenever I reached out, he reappeared, friendly as ever. Whenever I didn't, the silence stretched on. So I tested something. This time, I didn't chase. No extra messages. No, "Hey, is something wrong?" Just silence. And you know what happened? A few days later, he was back, casual, warm, as if nothing had ever changed. That's when I realized this was never about real distance. It was a game, and because I didn't play, he lost control. How do you handle this? Simple, recognize the pattern. If someone repeatedly withdraws and expects you to check in, it's not an accident. Don't take the bait. If they ignore you to test your response, give them nothing. And most importantly, remember your worth. The right people won't manipulate you into proving your value. They'll already see it. At the end of the day, attention should be mutual, not tested. If someone plays games, let them. Just don't play along. 2. They no longer benefit from you. There's a certain kind of silence that feels colder than words ever could. One day, they're warm, engaged, always reaching out. The next, nothing, no calls, no replies, just distance. And you sit there wondering, what did I do wrong? Here's the hard truth. Some people were never truly there for you. They were there for what you provided. Maybe it was your support, your connections, your generosity, or simply the way you made them feel. But the moment they no longer benefit from you, they disappear. Think of it like a power outlet. People who only stick around for their own gain are like devices plugged into a charger. As long as they're getting what they need, they stay connected, but the moment they're fully charged or find a better outlet, they unplug and leave. That's why some people vanish without warning. They never valued you, only the energy they could take from you. And this is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Epictetus once said, "Attach yourself to what is true, not to those who are temporary." The key is detachment. Stop tying your worth to people who are only passing through. The right people won't leave just because they no longer need something from you. They stay because they value you, not just what you provide. I once knew someone like this. Let's call him Ryan. He always reached out, friendly, engaging, but looking back, there was a pattern. Every interaction had a purpose. He needed advice, a favor, emotional support, and I gave because I believed in being there for people. But one day, I decided to pull back, not in a rude way, just to see if he would reach out without needing something. And guess what? He vanished. No more calls, no more messages. That's when I realized he wasn't really my friend. I was just convenient. The moment I stopped giving, he had no reason to stay. So how do you handle people like this? First, recognize the signs. If someone is only around when they need something, pay attention. Second, stop chasing those who leave. If their presence was conditional, their absence is a blessing. And finally, invest in real connections. True relationships aren't built on transactions. They're built on mutual respect and care. At the end of the day, some people will leave when they can no longer use you. Don't take it personally. Take it as a lesson, because the ones who stay, they're the ones who were meant to. 3. They're influenced by others. There are few things more frustrating than watching someone change overnight, not because of anything you did, but because of what they've been told. One day they're warm, engaged, treating you like a friend. The next, cold, distant, uninterested, And you're left wondering what changed. Here is the truth. A weak-minded person can be turned against you by gossip or external influence. Some people don't form their own opinions. They let others think for them. Instead of seeking clarity, they listen to whispers, mine, rumors, and judgments that aren't their own. And once those seeds of doubt are planted, they start seeing you through someone else's lens, not their own. Think of it like a leaf in the wind. A strong tree stays rooted no matter how fiercely the wind blows, but a weak leaf gets carried in every direction, powerless against the breeze. People who are easily influenced are the same way. They lack a solid foundation, so they sway wherever external forces push them. And this is where Stoic wisdom comes in. A mind that can be easily swayed was never truly yours to begin with. Those with real integrity seek truth, not rumors. If someone can be convinced to turn against you so easily, consider it a lesson, not a loss. I once experienced this firsthand. Let's call him Jake, a friend I trusted. Then, out of nowhere, he grew distant. No argument, no explanation, just a noticeable shift. At first I assumed he was busy, but then I learned through someone else that he had been told something false about me. Instead of coming to me for the truth, he simply believed it. I had two choices: chase him down, explain myself, and try to correct the narrative, or let him show his true nature. I chose the latter. I didn't beg. I didn't argue. I didn't try to defend myself against lies. And you know what happened? Months later, he reached out. The person who fed him those lies had done the same to others. And suddenly, he saw the truth. But by then, I had already moved on. Because the reality is this: anyone who can be so easily manipulated against you was never really on your side to begin with. So, how do you handle this? First, don't waste energy defending yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. If they don't value the truth enough to ask, they don't deserve an explanation. Second, let people reveal their loyalty. A real friend won't let gossip dictate their perception of you. And finally, be thankful. If someone is weak enough to be swayed, they were never a solid part of your life in the first place. At the end of the day, you don't lose real people. You only lose illusions. Let the weak-minded drift away, and surround yourself with those who think for themselves. For you've stopped playing by their rules. What happens when you stop tolerating manipulation? When you no longer bend to guilt trips, subtle control, or unspoken expectations? Simple, those who relied on controlling you will start to pull away. At first it feels confusing. Someone who was once close suddenly grows distant. They stop reaching out, stop including you, maybe even act cold. You wonder, did I do something wrong? But step back, and the answer becomes clear. Their behavior changed because yours did. Here is the truth. Some people only stay connected as long as they can dictate how you think, act, or respond. The moment you stop playing by their rules, they lose their grip on you. And instead of adjusting, they simply walk away. Not because they valued you as an equal, but because they valued the control they had over you. Think of it like a puppet with cut strings. As long as the strings are intact, the puppeteer decides every movement. But what happens when the strings are cut? The puppet no longer moves the way they want. And instead of accepting this change, the puppeteer loses interest and walks away. That's exactly how manipulators operate. The moment you stop reacting the way they expect, they pull back, not because you changed, but because they lost power. And this is where Stoic wisdom comes in. The price of independence is the loss of those who wanted you dependent. True freedom means standing firm in your values, even when it costs you relationships. The right people will respect your boundaries, the wrong ones will disappear. And that's a blessing, not a loss. I remember someone like this in my life. Let's call her Lisa. She had a way of making me feel like I always owed her something. If I disagreed with her, she would guilt-trip me. If I set a boundary, she'd say I was being unfair. For a long time I played along, thinking that if I just kept the peace, things would improve. Then one day, I stopped. I chose not to explain, not to justify, just to stand my ground. And her response, silence. No conversation, no argument, just distance. At first, it felt like a loss. But then I realized it wasn't. It was freedom. So how do you handle people like this? First, recognize the pattern. If someone only sticks around when they can control you, it's not a real connection. Second, stop justifying yourself. The moment you stop explaining and start acting, they lose their power. And finally, let them walk away. Because if someone only valued you when they could influence you, their absence is a sign you're moving in the right direction. At the end of the day, not everyone will celebrate your independence, but the ones who leave, they were only there for the control, not for you. Let them go and stand firm in who you are. 5. They feel intimidated by your growth. Growth is a beautiful thing, but not everyone will celebrate it. The moment you start improving yourself, some people will distance themselves, not because you've done anything wrong, but because your progress makes them uncomfortable. They liked you as long as you stayed on their level, as long as you weren't a reminder of what they could be but aren't willing to work for. Here's the truth. Some people would rather lose you than confront their own insecurities. They don't hate your success. They hate what it forces them to see in themselves. Think of it like climbing a mountain. In the beginning, you and a friend hike side by side. The journey feels shared, but as you push harder and climb higher, they start slowing down. They complain about the difficulty, suggest turning back, or worse, start resenting you for continuing upward. Then suddenly they stop. They say, "You're changing. You're not the same anymore." But what they really mean is, "I can't keep up," and instead of climbing with you, they'd rather stay behind. And this is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Do not shrink to make others comfortable. Grow and let them choose to keep up. Your growth is not an attack on anyone. It's a test of who is willing to rise with you. I once had a close friend. Let's call him Alex. We had always been on the same path, the same mindset, but then something shifted. I started focusing on self-improvement, reading more, setting bigger goals, changing how I thought about success. At first, Alex seemed supportive. "That's amazing, man. Keep going." But as I kept progressing, his energy changed. He started making jokes. "Oh, so now you're better than us," always with a laugh, but with an edge. Then the small digs became distant. "Man, you're too busy for me now." And eventually, I noticed he wasn't celebrating my growth anymore. He was downplaying it. One day, I asked him, "Hey, I feel like things are different between us. What's going on?" He shrugged. You've just changed. Man, it's like you're trying too hard. That's when I realized I hadn't changed too much. He had stayed the same. Instead of being inspired, he was intimidated, and rather than growing, he chose to step away. So how do you handle this? First, don't shrink yourself. If someone can't handle your growth, that's their battle to fight, not yours. Second, pay attention to energy shifts. If someone distances themselves when you level up, they were never truly rooting for you. And finally, let them go with peace. Not everyone is meant to continue the journey with you. At the end of the day, growth comes with a price, the loss of those who refuse to grow with you. But real friends, they won't just keep up, they'll push you even higher. 6. You've exposed their true nature. What happens when you stop tolerating dishonesty, manipulation, or selfishness? Some people will disappear, not because you push them away, but because they can't exist in a space where their lies no longer worked. They relied on deception, half-truths, and hidden motives, and the moment you see through it, they run. Here's the truth. When you expose someone's real nature, they have two choices: change or leave, and most will choose the easier path. They walk away, not because you did anything wrong, but because facing their own flaws is too uncomfortable. You didn't lose them. They lost the ability to manipulate you. Think of it like turning on a light in a dark room. At first, everything seems fine, but the moment you flip the switch, you see the dust, the mess, the things that were hidden in the shadows. Now you can't unsee it. That's exactly what happens when you recognize someone's true nature. And this is where Stoic wisdom comes in. The truth offends only those living a lie. A person who is honest, accountable, and genuine has nothing to fear from the truth. But those who thrive on deception, they hate it because it exposes them. I remember someone like this. Let's call her Anna. She always played the victim. Every conflict, every mistake, it was never her fault. And for a long time I believed her, defended her, gave her the benefit of the doubt. But then little things stopped adding up, small contradictions, moments where the mask slipped. So one day, I did something different. I stopped blindly accepting her excuses and started asking direct questions. Her reaction, instant defensiveness. Suddenly, I was being too harsh. I was overanalyzing. I had changed. And then she vanished. No real explanation, just distance. Because once I stopped playing along, she had nothing left to gain. How do you handle this? First, don't regret seeing the truth. It may be painful, but it's better than living in a lie. Second, let them go. If someone disappears when they can no longer deceive you, they were never genuine in the first place. And finally, stand firm in your integrity. The right people will appreciate your honesty. The wrong ones will run from it. At the end of the day, truth doesn't destroy real relationships. It only destroys the false ones. Let those who relied on deception vanish. You're better off without them. 7. It's a blessing in disguise. At first, being ignored stings. It makes you question what went wrong, why they suddenly distanced themselves, and whether you did something to deserve it. But here's the truth. Being ignored is not a loss. It's a filter. People who walk away without explanation are revealing something important. They were never truly meant to stay. Instead of mourning their absence, what if you saw it for what it really is? a blessing in disguise. Think of a tree in autumn. When the leaves fall, the tree doesn't grieve. It lets go, making space for stronger growth in the spring. That's exactly how life works. Some people are seasonal. They were never meant to grow with you long term. When they walk away, they're simply making room for the right people to enter your life. And this is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Do not grieve those who walked away. Be grateful they revealed themselves. If someone can ignore you so easily, it means they never truly valued your presence. And that's not a loss. It's clarity. I once had a friend. Let's call him Jake. He was always around, always engaging, until one day he wasn't. No argument, no fallout, just silence. At first, I was confused. Did I do something wrong? Should I reach out? Should I fix whatever had changed? But then I made a choice. I didn't chase. Days turned into weeks, and I realized something. I had always been the one keeping the friendship alive. When I stopped putting in effort, he didn't even notice. And that's when it hit me. I hadn't lost a real friend. I had lost an illusion of one. That silence, it was the answer I never knew I needed. How do you handle this? First, shift your mindset. Being ignored is not a reflection of your worth, but a revelation of theirs. Second, don't chase those who choose to leave. If someone's absence is that easy, their presence was never real. And finally, focus on those who stay. Real connections don't need proving or pursuit. They just exist. Let go of those who walk away. The right people will never need to be chased. At the end of the day, silence isn't rejection, it's redirection. Those who walk away simply make space for those who truly value you. If this resonated, like, subscribe and comment. Let them go. Stay strong. More wisdom awaits in the next video. Have you ever been betrayed, humiliated, or wronged so deeply that all you could think about was getting even? The desire for revenge feels like justice. It feels like the only way to restore balance. But what if I told you that true revenge is not anger, hatred, or even retaliation? It is something far more powerful. Something they will never expect. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." That means refusing to let their actions dictate your emotions. Because the moment you react in anger, you are no longer in control. They are. The more you dwell on revenge, the more power you give to those who hurt you. But when you rise above, when you reach a place where their actions no longer affect you, that is when you truly win. Seneca wrote, "No one can harm you without your permission. Yes, your pain is real, but your response is your choice. You can either stay trapped in resentment or transform it into something greater." In this video, we will uncover the Stoic approach to revenge, the kind that doesn't just free you from suffering, but makes you untouchable. Think of the person who hurt you the most. By the end of this video, they will no longer have any control over your mind. If you're ready to turn pain into power, make sure to subscribe and let's begin. Chapter 1: Why Traditional Revenge is a Trap. Have you ever felt the overwhelming urge to make someone suffer the way they made you suffer? The sting of betrayal, the weight of injustice, it lingers in your mind, refusing to fade. You replay the moment over and over, crafting the perfect way to make them feel the same pain. It feels like justice, like balance being restored. But have you ever stopped to ask yourself, Does revenge truly heal the wound? Or does it keep it open, festering, poisoning you from within? Imagine someone throws a burning coal at you. Your first instinct is to catch it and throw it back. But the moment your fingers close around it, the fire sears your skin. You are the first to suffer. This is the nature of revenge. The second you let anger dictate your actions, you have already lost. You are no longer in control. You are reacting, not acting. You are allowing someone else's actions to define you. The Stoics saw this not as power, but as weakness. True power is not in punishing those who wronged you. It is in proving that they never had control over you to begin with. Seneca said, "No one can harm you without your permission." At first, this may seem unrealistic. Of course, people can harm us. They can betray, deceive, humiliate, but Seneca's wisdom lies in understanding that the real damage is not in the act itself, but in how much we allow it to affect us. The moment you let another person's actions control your emotions, you have surrendered your peace of mind to them. And the cruel irony of revenge is that it does not free you from this control. It reinforces it. The more you plot, the more you dwell, the more they remain at the center of your thoughts. Instead of moving on, you stay trapped in a cycle of anger and obsession. It is human nature to want revenge. Our minds are wired for it. In ancient times, retaliation was necessary for survival. If someone stole from you, attacked your family, or threatened your tribe, revenge was a form of justice. It maintained order, ensured consequences, and deterred future harm. Even today, our instinct tells us that by making the other person suffer, we will somehow restore balance. But this instinct, though deeply ingrained, is outdated. In a world where physical retaliation is no longer the norm, revenge has taken on more subtle forms: silent grudges, passive-aggressive behavior, the slow poison of resentment. And these modern forms of revenge do not bring the closure we seek. They prolong the suffering. Consider the story of Caracalla, a Roman emperor consumed by vengeance. After murdering his own brother out of jealousy, he became obsessed with eliminating anyone who might oppose him. He executed senators, persecuted philosophers, and waged costly wars, all fueled by paranoia and resentment. But did his revenge bring him peace? No, it made him reckless, isolated, and ultimately vulnerable. His obsession did not only destroy his enemies, it destroyed him. One of his own guards, tired of his cruelty, assassinated him. Caracalla's legacy is not one of strength, but of self-destruction. Now contrast this with Marcus Aurelius. As emperor, he faced betrayal from his closest allies, including Avidius Cassius, his most trusted general, who declared himself ruler of Rome. Marcus had every reason to seek brutal revenge, but instead of reacting with fury, he responded with indifference. He did not let Cassius' actions shake his character or disrupt his leadership. And before Marcus even needed to act, Cassius was killed by his own men. The situation resolved itself not through force, but through its own natural course. Marcus understood that true power is not in retaliation, but in mastering oneself. Which of these two men was truly stronger? The one who let revenge consume him, or the one who remained untouched? The answer is clear. The paradox of revenge is that the more you seek to punish others, the more you punish yourself. The more energy you spend thinking about your enemies, The more power you give them over your mind, you think you are hurting them, but in reality, you are keeping them alive inside you. And here is the greatest tragedy. Even if you succeed in your revenge, what then? Does it erase the past? Does it bring true peace? Thanks. Studies have shown that acts of retaliation do not bring lasting happiness. Instead, they often leave people feeling emptier than before. The satisfaction is fleeting, but the resentment lingers, like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Revenge only deepens the wound. Seneca also said, "The best remedy for anger is delay." In other words, when you pause instead of reacting, you reclaim your power. When you refuse to let someone's betrayal shape your emotions, you win, because the greatest revenge is not in making them suffer, it is in proving that they never had control over you to begin with. Think back to a time when you were wronged. Did your anger help you, or did it keep you stuck? Did revenge make you feel free, or did it tie you even closer to the past? The Stoics understood that true power lies in detachment. To let go is not to surrender, it is to rise above. It is to break the chains that keep you tied to someone who no longer deserves your attention. The longer you hold on to the idea of revenge, the longer you allow the person who hurt you to remain in control. The moment you decide to move on, not out of weakness but out of strength, is the moment you take your power back. Revenge is a cycle, a trap, a prison of your own making. The only way to win is not to play. True power is not in making them suffer. It is in living so well, so fully, so freely, that their existence no longer affects you. The world remembers Marcus Aurelius as one of the greatest leaders in history, a man who ruled with wisdom and discipline. Few remember Aedius Cassius, the man who tried to betray him. This is the lesson of Stoicism. The best revenge is not in proving them wrong. It is in proving that they never mattered. So ask yourself, are you still holding on to the burning coal? Or is it time to let it go? Chapter 2. The Stoic Formula for True Revenge. If revenge, as most people imagine it, is a trap, then what is the alternative? How do you reclaim your power without being consumed by the need to strike back? The answer lies not in destruction, but in transformation. The greatest revenge is not in hurting those who wronged you. It is in making them irrelevant. It is in becoming so strong, so untouchable, that their actions no longer have any impact on your life. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is the foundation of true revenge. Absolute control over yourself. When someone betrays you, insults you, or tries to bring you down, what they want most is a reaction. They want to see you angry, broken, and desperate to prove a point. The moment you lose control, they win, but when you refuse to engage, when you remain calm in the face of their chaos, you take back your power. Imagine two warriors facing each other. One is fueled by rage, swinging wildly, desperate to land a hit. The other is calm, focused, waiting for the right moment. Who is truly stronger, the one who lets their emotions control them, or the one who controls their emotions? This is how you must approach those who seek to hurt you. If you react with anger, you are playing their game. But if you remain steady, you rise above it. Mastering your emotions is not about suppressing them. It is about training yourself to respond instead of react. The Stoics practiced this through self-discipline. They understood that emotions are like storms, intense but temporary. When anger rises, instead of reacting immediately, pause. Take a breath. Ask yourself, is this worth my peace? More often than not, the answer is no. With time, what once seemed unbearable will shrink into insignificance. The person who wronged you will fade into irrelevance, not because they changed, but because you grew beyond them. But true revenge does not stop at self-control. It is not enough to remain indifferent. You must also rise above. The best way to defeat those who tried to bring you down is to become so great that they can no longer reach you. History remembers those who turned adversity into strength. Nelson Mandela was imprisoned for 27 years, treated with cruelty and injustice. He had every reason to seek revenge, but instead, he chose a different path. He walked out of prison not as a man seeking retribution, but as a leader who would unite a divided nation. He became a global symbol of wisdom and peace. While those who oppressed him faded into obscurity, his success was his revenge. The same lesson can be seen in the story of Steve Jobs. After being betrayed and fired from his own company, he could have spent years in bitter plotting against those who wronged him. But instead of focusing on revenge, he focused on his craft. He built new companies, refined his vision, and when he returned to Apple, he turned it into one of the most successful companies in history. The people who once pushed him out became irrelevant, not because he destroyed them, but because he outgrew them. This is the kind of revenge that truly lasts, not fleeting satisfaction, but undeniable greatness. Instead of wasting your energy proving a point, use that energy to build something unstoppable. Instead of looking back, look forward. Let them watch as you succeed beyond anything they ever imagined. But there is one final step, the hardest yet the most powerful. Let go, not for them, but for yourself. The people who cause harm often face the consequences of their own actions. Call it karma, call it natural justice. But those who live with malice often destroy themselves in the end. Your job is not to make that happen. It is to focus entirely on your own life. Epictetus said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." In other words, don't waste time trying to prove your worth to those who doubted you. Simply become so strong, so fulfilled that their opinions no longer matter. A person who betrayed you in love, forget them. Build a life so great that their absence becomes meaningless. A boss who undervalued you, let them go. Rise so high that they one day regret ever doubting you. Revenge is not found in words or actions. It is found in a life well lived. It is easy to let resentment take root. It is easy to dwell on what was lost, to replay the past, to wish things had gone differently. But none of that serves you. Holding on to revenge is like holding on to a burning coal, hoping it will hurt someone else. In the end, you are the one who gets burned. The real power move is not in punishing them. It is in making them irrelevant. It is in living with such purpose that they become nothing more than a forgotten lesson. The next time you are wronged, ask yourself, what serves me best? Wasting energy on the past, or investing everything into my future? The answer is clear. Let go, rise above, and make your success the only response they ever receive. Chapter 3. Practicing Stoicism to let go of resentment. Letting go of revenge is easier said than done, even when you understand that revenge is a trap, that it keeps you chained to those who wronged you. there is still a part of you that resists. The mind clings to anger because it feels like justice. It tells you that if you let go, you are allowing them to win. But the truth is, holding on to resentment does not punish them, it punishes you. It keeps the wound fresh, the pain alive, the betrayal present in your daily thoughts. The only way to truly move forward is to take deliberate action in freeing yourself from it. One of the most powerful ways to do this is through a simple shift in perspective. What if the person who hurt you no longer mattered? Imagine waking up one morning and realizing that their actions, their betrayal, their cruelty, none of it has power over you anymore. They become just another figure in your past, a distant memory, a lesson learned. How would that feel? What would your life look like if you were no longer weighed down by the need to get even? Would you be lighter, freer, more at peace? This is not just a thought experiment, it's a path to liberation. Seneca once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Most of our pain does not come from what happened, but from how much we relive it in our minds. Every time we replay the betrayal, every time we remind ourselves of the injustice, we are reopening the wound. But what if we stopped? What if we treated those thoughts the way we treat passing clouds, acknowledging them but letting them drift away? A practical way to release resentment is through a technique called write but never send. Take a piece of paper and write everything you want to say to the person who hurt you. Every ounce of anger, every frustration, every unspoken thought. Let it all out. Be as raw and unfiltered as you need to be. Then, when you are done, destroy the letter, burn it, shred it, throw it away. This act is symbolic. It is a way of emptying the poison from your system without feeding the cycle of revenge. You are not seeking closure from them, you are creating closure for yourself. Another powerful practice is Stoic visualization. Picture your life 5 years from now. Imagine yourself thriving, successful, deeply happy. Now ask yourself, will this grudge still matter? Will the actions of this person still have any hold over you? Chances are, the answer is no. The things that seem unbearable now often become insignificant over time. By practicing this mental shift today, you accelerate the process of detachment. You begin to reclaim your mind from the past and redirect it toward a future of growth. This is not just theory, it is a path that has changed lives. Take, for example, the story of a woman named Sarah. She was engaged to be married, deeply in love, when she discovered that her fiancé had been unfaithful. The betrayal shattered her. For months, she was consumed by thoughts of revenge, exposing him, ruining his reputation, making him feel the pain he had caused her. But then, she stumbled upon Stoicism. Instead of seeking retaliation, she chose a different approach. She redirected her energy into herself. She focused on her career, her health, her passions. She built a life so fulfilling that the man who once dominated her thoughts became irrelevant. Years later, when he reached out to apologize, she felt nothing, no anger, no desire for revenge, just indifference, and that was the greatest victory of all. But what if you feel like you simply cannot let go? What if the pain is still fresh, the injustice still burns, and the idea of moving on feels impossible? This is where meditative detachment becomes essential. The Stoics practiced a form of mental distancing, reminding themselves that everything in life is temporary, including pain. If you feel overwhelmed by anger, close your eyes and take a deep breath. Ask yourself, will this still matter a year from now, 5 years from now, 10? Most of the time, the answer is no. When you see the transience of your emotions, you realize that they do not own you. You begin to step outside of them, rather than being controlled by them. Another method is reframing the story. Instead of seeing yourself as a victim of betrayal, reframe the situation as a lesson. Ask yourself, what did this experience teach me? Maybe it taught you to set better boundaries, to be more discerning in who you trust, or to rely more on yourself. When you reframe the experience as something that made you stronger, it no longer has the same hold over you. You transform the pain into wisdom. A perfect example of this is the story of a man named Daniel. He spent years building a business with his best friend, only to be betrayed. His friend secretly took control of their company, leaving Daniel with nothing. At first, Daniel was consumed with rage. He wanted revenge, to destroy his former friend's reputation. But instead of wasting years on resentment, he chose a different path. He took the lessons he had learned and started over. Slowly, he built an even more successful business, one that thrived beyond anything he had before. Years later, his ex-business partner's company collapsed due to bad decisions. Without lifting a finger, Daniel had won not by seeking revenge, but by excelling beyond the person who betrayed him. And then there is the final practice, the simplest yet the most profound. Live well. Invest in yourself so completely that those who wronged you become a distant memory. Build a life that is so full of purpose, so deeply fulfilling, that their existence becomes irrelevant. This is the most powerful revenge of all. Not bitterness, not hatred, but absolute indifference. When you reach this state, you will understand the true essence of Stoicism, that nothing outside of you has the power to harm you unless you allow it. The Stoics understood that true power is found not in controlling others, but in controlling yourself. When you free yourself from the chains of resentment, you reclaim your peace. You no longer waste energy on the past, but invest everything into your future. You rise above, not because they deserve forgiveness, but because you deserve freedom. So ask yourself, if the person who hurt you no longer mattered, what would your life look like? And what is stopping you from making that life a reality right now? The answer is within you. Let go, move forward, and let your success be the only response they ever receive. The final Stoic lesson on revenge. Revenge is not about making them suffer. It is about making yourself untouchable. The moment you stop chasing retaliation, you set yourself free, because true power is not found in anger, nor in proving them wrong, but in reaching a place where their actions no longer affect you. The greatest revenge is not in fighting battles, but in walking away so completely that their existence no longer holds any weight in your life. They wanted your reaction. They wanted to see you break. They wanted to control your emotions, your thoughts, your energy. But the moment you choose indifference, you deny them that power. You shift your focus from the past to your future, from them to yourself. And when you rise, when you succeed beyond anything they imagined, they will come to realize they never had control over you at all. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." That means refusing to become bitter, refusing to waste your energy on people who do not deserve it. It means turning pain into wisdom, betrayal into growth, and anger into clarity. When you do this, You take back everything they tried to steal from you. Your peace, your confidence, your direction. Think about the people who have wronged you, the ones who lied, betrayed, or hurt you. Now imagine if instead of holding on to that pain, you used it as fuel. Imagine transforming every moment of anger into something productive. Imagine growing so much that they become nothing more than a forgotten name in your past. This is not fantasy. This is what true strength looks like. It is not about erasing the past, but about no longer letting it define you. But letting go is not always easy. Your mind will try to pull you back to relive the moment, to justify your anger. That is why this is a daily practice, a conscious decision to choose growth over resentment. It is the discipline of reminding yourself that your future is more important than your past, that no matter what was done to you, you will not allow it to shape who you become. The true Stoic does not ask, "How can I make them pay?" but rather, "How can I ensure they no longer matter?" So the question is no longer about them. It is about you. Will you let the past keep you shackled, or will you reclaim your power and move forward? The choice is yours. Let go. Rise above, and let your success be the only response they ever receive. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to reflect. What will you change in the way you face pain and betrayal? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your journey to strength and resilience starts now, and if you're ready to master your emotions and live with unshakable peace, make sure to subscribe. In the next video, we'll uncover another Stoic lesson that will help you take full control of your life. Until then, live well, rise above, and never let anyone dictate your peace. What makes a person truly commanding? Is it their voice, their status, their size or number? It's something deeper, something unspoken. Imagine walking into a room. You don't shout, you don't demand attention, yet people take notice. They pause, they listen, not out of fear, but out of respect. Think of Marcus Aurelius, the emperor philosopher. Think of Tommy Shelby from Peaky Blinders. Neither needed to raise their voice to be heard. Their presence alone spoke for them. Their words, few but deliberate, carried weight. This isn't luck. It's mastery, the art of silent power. The Stoics understood this well. True strength doesn't come from proving yourself, but from knowing yourself. In this video, I'll share 8 powerful habits that will make people respect you, not because you ask for it, but because you embody it. If you're ready to develop unshakable confidence and master the way you carry yourself, stay with me, and if any part of this resonates, let me know in the comments. Now let's unlock the habits that turn words into influence and presence into power. Habit number 1, move slowly and deliberately. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "A person's worth is measured by the things they let disturb them. In a world that rushes, the one who moves with purpose stands apart." Confidence isn't found in hurried steps or frantic speech. It's in control. Control over your body, your time, your presence. Think of the most respected person you know. Did they fidget? Did they speak too fast, trying to fill every silence? Or did they move with calm certainty, carrying themselves as if they had nowhere better to be? Contrast that with someone who rushes into a room, speaking too quickly, shifting nervously, always trying to keep up. No matter what they say, their body reveals the truth. They are not in control. This is why Tommy Shelby from Peaky Blinders never rushes. Even in danger, he moves with measured precision. He isn't slow because he hesitates. He's slow because he owns the moment. His presence controls the room, not the other way around. I once made the mistake of thinking confidence meant keeping up. I spoke fast, moved quickly, and tried to match the pace of those around me. But instead of commanding respect, I looked like I was chasing it. Then I started watching those who truly had presence. They didn't rush, they didn't fidget. When they walked, they took their time. When they spoke, they paused. And when they looked at someone, they held their gaze, not with arrogance, but with certainty. That's when I realized the world follows those who move at their own pace. The moment you stop rushing, you stop seeking approval. And that's when people start paying attention. So how do you train this? Slow down. Walk into a room 20% slower than usual. Feel the difference. You're no longer reacting to the energy around you. You're controlling it. Practice stillness. Sit in a chair and observe yourself. Are you tapping your foot? Adjusting too much? Stop. The less you move, the more powerful your presence becomes. Pause before responding. When someone asks you a question, take a breath. Let the silence build. Let them lean in. Seneca once said, "A great man is known not by how much he speaks, but by how much he controls himself." This is your challenge. Discipline yourself to move with purpose. Let go of the need to rush. Speak with patience. Carry yourself with control. And watch as the world starts to listen. Habit number 2, mastering eye contact. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Look within. Within is the fountain of good, and it will ever flow if you are willing to dig." If controlled movement gives you command over space, then eye contact gives you command over human interaction. No words are needed, just the ability to look someone in the eye and, without speaking, convey, "I am here. I am unshaken." Imagine this: you're in a conversation, but the other person keeps glancing away. Their eyes dart down, then to the side, avoiding direct contact. What's your first impression? Likely that they're uncertain, nervous, perhaps even hiding something. Now picture someone else, someone who meets your gaze with calm, steady presence. They don't stare aggressively, nor do they fidget. Their eye contact is effortless, controlled, and in that moment, you feel it. They are fully present, fully in command of themselves. This is why characters like Tommy Shelby from Peaky Blinders demand respect without saying a word. When he looks at someone, he doesn't force his gaze, but he also doesn't break it too soon. He doesn't need to intimidate. His stillness does the work for him. I used to struggle with this, not because I was afraid, but because I wasn't yet comfortable with stillness. I would break eye contact too soon, unintentionally signaling hesitation. And every time I did, it made me seem less certain than I actually was. But when I trained myself to hold my gaze just a little longer, something changed. People started listening more intently. They took my words more seriously, not because I changed what I said, but because I changed how I carried myself. The Stoics understood this well. Seneca once said, "A person's eyes reveal more truth than their words ever could." Your gaze reflects your mind. If your mind is restless, anxious, uncertain, it will show. Your eyes will dart, shift, escape. But if your mind is steady, rooted in its own confidence, your eyes will hold firm. So how do you train this? Start with the 1-second rule. In your next conversation, hold eye contact just 1 second longer than usual before looking away. That extra second makes all the difference. If you must look away, don't drop your gaze downward, which signals submission. Thou must do it. Instead, shift it to the side. Mirror training: stand in front of a mirror and hold your own gaze for 30 seconds. It will feel uncomfortable at first, but soon it will feel natural. Observe and learn. Watch those who command respect, whether in real life or on screen. Notice how their eyes move, how they hold their presence without force. Epictetus once taught, the more you practice self-control, the less you will fear the gaze of others. Master your eye contact, and you will master your presence. Hold your gaze, hold your mind, and the world will hold you in higher regard. Habit number 3, do not react. The power of staying unshaken. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, the nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to true strength. In every confrontation, there is a moment where the balance of power shifts, not because of who speaks the loudest, but because of who remains silent the longest. True power is not in reacting, but in choosing when and how to respond. Imagine 2 people in a heated argument. One raises their voice, growing agitated, desperate to prove their point. The other, they do not react. They listen, they observe. Their expression remains unchanged. While the first person burns energy, the second absorbs everything, calculating their next move. Who really holds the power in that moment? Most people are ruled by their emotions. A small criticism makes them defensive. A rude driver cuts them off, and they erupt in anger. Someone disagrees with them, and they argue endlessly, unable to let go. But reactivity is weakness. It means you are letting external events dictate your emotions. The Stoics understood this well. Control over oneself is the highest form of strength. I once worked with a man who embodied this principle. No matter what happened, tight deadlines, aggressive clients, unexpected setbacks, he never raised his voice, never panicked, even when criticized directly. He simply nodded, took a breath, and responded in calm, measured words. People listened to him not because he demanded respect, but because his presence commanded it. He showed no need to defend himself, no urge to react impulsively, and that is exactly why others trusted him. The world constantly tests you. It will push, provoke, and try to pull you into emotional chaos, but your strength is in your ability to remain still. When you refuse to react, you force others to reveal themselves first. You make them show their weaknesses while you remain unreadable, untouchable. This is Stoicism in action. Seneca once said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. You do not control the world. You only control how you respond to it.